So good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you all in this today webinar on how to become angel investor in startup. And we have with us our young and dynamic chairman, C.A. Dheeraj Khandelwal ji, and we have very experienced panelist to discuss this all. So I welcome all of you, and over to Dheeraj bhai.
Thank you, Raj Chawla ji. I think good evening to each and everyone. Thank you for attending this particular webinar. I think this is important, for everyone to understand, how to become a angel investors. There are a lot of buzz across the India, the startup, and people are wanted to be, part of that startup. And there are, success story in India. We have seen it. We have seen around 105 unicorns, and unicorns maybe some of 1,000 people of the unicorns. And we have seen that the India top angel network, angel fund, and VC funds are there. And today we can see that on top of the top, India's VC angel networks are having such kind of webinar to guide you, how to become an angel investor, and how you can also be successful, how you can also be part of the growth journey of the India, and how you can maximize your wealth. The ultimate point is that you are earning good return in the stock market. You are getting a good return. So how much the rate of returns can be there in the startup, and how maximize how you can maximize it. So that is why particular this session is being organized. And another session is that why another reason being that having particular this session is because of a growth story. India is the third largest ecosystem in the startup, and US is the first largest ecosystem the startup, where we can see that 7 lakh angel investors there. When we look around the India is around 25 to 35,000 angel investors are there. And there is a huge demand of the funds, and we have seen that last 2 years was not so good. And we have gathered the data that earlier the mutual fund started in the in 2005 or 6, something like that. That time we were also referring that why to invest in the mutual. Now that thereafter mutual funds sahi hai, schemes came and people started investing. Now people are getting the good returns. Mutual funds sahi hai. So that's why now today we wanted to make have the confession and as well as the statement. Now investment in the startup sahi hai. So that's the movement which we wanted to have across India. The mutual fund startup investment sahi hai. And that's why we wanted to have more and more angel investors. And there are the ministries which is like a Niti Aayog, the Ministry of Commerce, where DPIT is there. Same way, they are the Ministry of Education are there. They also have such kind of a startup ecosystem. Same way, Ministry of Science and Technologies are there. Ministry of Math is there. So these are the ministries also having such ecosystem which they are wanted to have a lot of angel investors. And today I'm happy to inform you all, the Ministry of Education and as well as the Vice Chairman of All India Council for Technical Education (AICT), Mr. Dr. Abhay Jere sir has been joined today for his guidance. And also we have with us M. Balasubramaniam. He's also Deputy Chairman for the Steering Committee of the Ministry of Education on the on the investor networks, and also he's a founder and CEO of the Stability. And with us, with these panel people, we have the panelist. The panelist is Ninad Kapre, and he's a chartered accountant. He been MD of the EPTEC. Now he's a partner with the 100 X VC funds, and which is invested in a number of startups. We have seen it a lot of his success. And along with that, we have Mitesh Shah. He's also chartered accountant. He's also co-founder of the IBP Venture Funds. So that's also be part of the angel network. He's having the largest, one of the, also a largest investor network people. Another is Rishabh Golecha, the sensation of the venture fund, which I can say I know them from last 20 years, like Ninarji, like Nitiji, like this venture catalyst Rishabh Golcha. So Rishabh Golcha is also founder and founding partner of the venture catalyst. Uh, then we have with us Deepak Sharma. Deepak Sharma is also a co-founder of the India Accelerator. So that's also being a part of the Angel Network. He's from Delhi. Rishabh is from Mumbai. Nitesh is from Mumbai. Nina is from Mumbai. And these are the, all across 4 network, which is all together present over here. I think command India's 70% of the angel investor markets, which I can say. Altogether, if I'm wrong, Mitesh can correct me. Or Rishabh is also can correct me about that if I'm wrong. That and now we have with us another interesting person. He's a chartered accountant, young dynamic person, and angel investor. I can say right as of now, but he started as a entrepreneur. Is a Gaurav Sundaria, chartered accountant, as a Gaurav Sundaria, part of the co-founder of the Karja technology, which is being taken over by the one of the big company, and near about the valuation he existed is from valuation about near $800 million, something around that. I think he will also share his success story, and now he started his investment to the various company. So he's one of the chartered accountant, youngest chartered accountant, under the 30. So he will also share his experience, how to invest, where to invest, what to do it. So these are the panelists are there. Before I open up the forum to all the panelists, I request Jerry sir to give the guidance and your opening speech. Then we'll have the interactive session after 5:30 about these panelists, as well as the other people are also going to join how to become a angel part of the angel network of your Ministry of Education. So over to you.
Thank you, Dheeraj. Am I audible?
Yeah, very much audible.
So first, Dheeraj, I would really like to sincerely appreciate your efforts in supporting us and getting such really renowned people to join this call. I also like to thank all the members who have joined this call, esteemed dignitaries. Actually, your intention to support us is it brings us a real pleasure, sir. So basically, sir, my name is Dr. Abhay Jeri, and I am a researcher, come policymaker, come academician, and currently I am vice chairman for All India Council for Technical Education. And I'm also the chief innovation officer for Ministry of Education. So many of you might not be, and many of the companies don't have a chief innovation officer position, but Ministry of Education for last 5 years has a chief innovation officer position, and I'm the first chief innovation officer. And as chief innovation officer, my mandate is to actually ensure how we can build innovation and entrepreneurial ecosystem within our educational institutions. We first started with higher education sector, and now we are venturing also into school education sector. So we are working very closely with CBSE. We are working because it's all under Ministry of Education. So we have that access and we actually are doing it. Now, what has happened, I don't know how many of you are aware, but since 2015-16, we actually are working on initiative called a Smart India Hackathon. So now it has become world's biggest hackathon. I hope you would have heard about it, but if you have not heard it, it's okay. It has become world's biggest open innovation model. And usually in this hackathon, we have about 54,000 teams participating this year. And every year, Prime Minister Narendra Modi joins us for this hackathon. For all the 6-7 editions which are there, every year he comes, and now it has become more of a ritual. Each and every college technical institution in India participates. And what we have realized is that over a period of time, there are very good ideas which are there. But post hackathon, we are not very successful in handholding them, supporting them, mentoring them, taking them forward. Even we try to incubate them in their colleges or in some of the incubators, but the experience has also not been very good. The reason is sometimes there are a lot of these fly-by-night incubators which are there. They try to arm twist these young students. They try to actually extract undue, what we can say, equity ho ya बाकी का revenue हो या बाकी ऐसे, and they treat them not in a very decent fashion. So for last 1 year, we were thinking about how we can help these students, how we can facilitate funding for these students. We are also investing from our side. I have about 10 crore rupees of funding, which I actually invest. It's a very small amount, and we can invest up to 10 lakh rupees per student and per idea. And we have funding for such 100 ideas. And many times we end up investing on ideas which are done through some interview or some committee or something of that sort, and the seriousness of those committee members is also not there. So we felt that we should have some kind of a vibrant structure created within the ministry who will work very closely with us in building this entire innovation ecosystem, mentoring the startups, if required, investing in the startup, also guiding us on which startups we should co-invest along with the investor. So that's where the idea of Ministry of Education's investor network came. And Minister said that we will have about 100 investors empaneled in this network to start with. And then we will move forward with maybe if required, we will expand this network based on our experience and so on. So we also have to have a very clear-cut policy guidelines for empanelment. Sorry. For empanelment of these investors, also why we are actually including certain investors, why we are not including certain investors, that those guidelines have to be there. But then these investors will get something very exclusive. They will have exclusive access to the technologies from AICT institutions, first right of refusal if possible. That's what also we are exploring the possibility currently. And currently what I have is about 8,400 institutions as part of AICT, as technical institutions. And when we are talking about technical institutions, sometimes people might get misled. So I would like to be very clear here. When we say technical institution, it means engineering institutions, it means diploma institution, it means management institutions, design institutions, as well as even hotel management. 300, 400 hotel management institutions are also part of technical institutions. So if you really just look at engineering institutions, we have around 3,500 in this country currently. About 3,000 diploma institutions. And now from this year, we will have BCN, BBA institutions also under us, which will be around again 5,000, 6,000 institutions will come under us. So at any given time point, we have about 80 lakh students. And what we also realized during this entire process was that investors on one side say that we have money, we don't know where to go and invest. Majority of them end up approaching some of the known incubators, or they end up visiting premier institutions like IITs and NITs or something of that sort. On the other side, when we speak informally to a lot of these IITs directors or those people, they say रोज ऐसे request इतने आते हैं कि हम कितने लोगों को accommodate करें, कितने लोगों को ना करें, वो समझ में नहीं आता. And on the other side, to tier 2, tier 3 institutions, nobody is ready to go. They are saying कि हम किसको बुलाएं, हमको पता नहीं है. And वहां एक या दो टेक्नोलॉजीज देखने के लिए कोई जाने को तैयार. it's not that good. The ROI is not so good. So we said that just 1 minute, huh, sir? Hello, sir. Huh, 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 huh. UGC का हाँ ओके मैं अभी करता हूँ हाँ बट सर मैं अभी वो इन्वेस्टर की मीटिंग में हूँ मैं उसे एक आधे घंटे में करता हूँ सर यस सर यस यस सर यस सर या मैं हाँ हाँ, मैं करता हूँ सर जस्ट सॉरी सम फोन फ्रॉम सेक्रेटरी anyway so what at tier 2 tier 3 institutions where there are some technologies out there nobody is ready to us as so we said that as AICTE All India Council for Technical Education we will establish 12 innovation centers which we are calling we have named them innovation centers and they will have a jurisdiction about 2 states or 3 states or maybe 1 state also in some cases. They will go and scout relevant technologies, maybe at different TRL levels, TRL 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or something of that sort. And then they will create a bouquet of those technologies and then they will present it to some of the investors on the panel which is there. On our empaneled investor, and then you can make investments, you can actually handhold them, you can pick them, you can mentor them, and so on and so forth. So there is no compulsion for anyone that you have to do this in a sense, but you will have that first kind of an access to that. So through these 12 innovation centers, and we are actually putting 2 or 3 people in each of the innovation center. We are calling them innovation managers. They will do IP filing and those kind of things. But they will help scout these technologies from tier 2, tier 3 organizations. Because within these tier 2, tier 3 organizations, there is no culture. The management simply doesn't know how they should handhold an idea or how they should handhold or guide or mentor the startups. So from that perspective we have formed this committee. Bala is the co-chair for this committee. I'm chairing that committee. We have few investors on this. Dheeraj is part of that committee, and we are trying to now reach out to 100 investors. That's what our ministry, honorable minister, has given us the goal, and this entire program will be launched on 31st of January. Bala, you might have already informed, right, in this?
No, I'll take him.
We have to speak.
Okay. So 31st of January, the launch is in Delhi, where Minister is very keen on interacting with the that investor community. The people who are empaneled by the Ministry of Education, there will be a dedicated page on AICTE website, which will give the achievements, names of these empaneled people. So all that legitimacy will be provided to the empaneled investors. And we will be actually taking care of them well in advance. So for example, Coimbatore में अगर road show करना है, 25 technologies दिखानी है, तो we will send out an invite saying that कि ऐसे ऐसे आप please इस दिन में कर सकते हैं. My innovation team will go scout and bring those there. So we will set up that kind of a complete mechanism so that that actual connection happens between a student or a faculty, because there are a large number of faculty startups also. Okay. Apart from that, we have put out a policy also. A very clear-cut policy also has done from the ministry that faculty को startup करना है तो क्या करना पड़ेगा, उसका कितना time देना पड़ेगा, वो क्या कर सकता है, कैसा role ले सकता है. अगर student को startup करना है तो क्या करना पड़ेगा, कैसा role क्या हो सकता है, equity कितना ले सकता है, faculty कितना ले सकता है, उसके बारे में हमने clear-cut guidelines already issue कर दी है. Okay. So now we are trying to plug this missing piece. Which was related to investor by creating our own investor network. So that is what we are.
So I think the message is very clear to the all viewer of this particular webcast. I think around 3,334 people is watching particular this webinar, and we're going to start
Bala, can you share the link where they can actually go ahead and register?
I'm requesting all the participants will have the view of the Bala. He will display the link. Please register yourself, and then thereafter we're going to have another session at 5:30 with our participants over here, and some of the panelists as well as the participant will have the. So thank you, Jerry sir. We'll invite you again at 5:30. So have more proper discussion with all participants as well as the panelists. So now we are starting a webinar discussion on how to become an angel investor. So it's a 1 hour time. So we'll discuss more on this how to become angel investor. And I request Bala to sum up the things. I think Dr. Abhay Jere already briefed to the all participants or the viewers how they can become angel investors into the Ministry of Education. If you have something, you can also add up. Then we'll start the webcast, how to become angels. We have all panelists over here.
We are not saying angel investors. We are saying MOE's investor network.
Correct.
So angel, pre-angel, VC.
Yeah.
We are not
investors.
Yeah, we are not just categorizing as angel.
Our theme today theme is about how to become angel investor. So that all the panelists are here. They will guide to the all participants. More than 3,000 participants. They will learn about to become angel investors. So then alongside there, we are appealing them to be part of the Ministry of Education investor program. So just a small overview by the Bala, if you can add. Then we'll have the panelists along with you.
Thank you, Dheeraj. Thanks for this wonderful arrangement of inviting 3,000 plus ICA members. It's been very helpful. Dr. Jire sir and all the panelists, namaste and very good afternoon. Jire sir has explained the purpose of creating this investor network. I hope it will be clear. I've just shared the investor link where you can look at the overall thesis of the investor committee and who are the committee members and all the details. And also the second link that will help you to register yourself in the committee. Rather, I would like to provide two information which may be helpful for all the participants. If you look at the investor sentiment in the startup ecosystem, for the last few years has been increasingly favoring the seed stage investment. In fact, initially there were days where we were looking at large startups, heavily funded startup, but today the trend is very clearly evident that the seed stage startups are increasing. And if you want to really look at right seed stage startup, the best way is looking at the technology institutions, which is again under AICTE. All the technology institutions in India are under AICTE, other than the IITs and NITs. If you look at 78% of them were favored with seed stage investment the last year, especially 2023, compared to the overall investment that has come to our country. Despite of the fact that almost 38% of the investors failed to deploy even 50% of the allocated startup investment, which is targeted for 24. So that's the trend it has been going on. And in fact, the future looks very, very optimistic, considering 95% of the investors predict favorable IPO conditions for the startups in 24. These are all the surveys, and when authorized, release the survey reports I'm sharing. And I would also like to say the optimism signal of encountering opportunities for Indian startup in funding and exit strategies are a very trending 2024 approach, my dear friends. One more point I would like to mention. Almost 1.8 lakh tech startups will be in India by 2030. And if you look at it is almost 2.x times increase from 68,000 this year, last year, to 2020. That's the level of transformation that we are looking, and probably it could go beyond this 1.8 lakh, but this is the prediction as of now. Having said that, this year, the overall, not necessarily the angel network, but overall funding status for 24 is reduced in our country, but it has been very, very stabilized. When I say reduced but stabilized, the quality of investment, the quality of investors, the quality of startups are very, very matured, and that's what the research and survey report shows. We will be happy to take any questions post our panel discussion, because we don't want to tell you how to become angel investor, because that's where the panelists are here, so I don't want to get into that. Rather, we would like to take up some practical questions which would encounter post our webinar, and we'll happy to do that. Thank you. Have a great webinar.
I think thank you, Bala. Now we'll start the discussion about the how to become an angel investor. So we have with us Ninad Kapre. I think Ninadji, are you there? I think okay. So he has some emergency issues which he has to address. So that's why he might be left. So now I'll take up first questions from Rishabh. So can you just share a bit about your journey, how you became an angel investor, and what is the motivation for you to start angel investing?
Sure. First of all, thank you, ICA, Dheeraj, Dr. Abhay, and everybody for having all of us here and take this session. So starting my journey, I'll give you a background. Fortunately, I'm one of those generations where my fathers and my uncles and my family created wealth by working really hard for the last 30 years. So as a part of the natural progression, I got involved with my family, and I started. I kind of took some portion of that family wealth and started investing in startups. Now this is because it was a part of our asset allocation strategy. While we are invested in stock markets, gold, mutual funds, fixed deposits, etc., हमें लगा कि startups, and this is 2014-15, we thought startups are the next big things. Most large businesses will become new age digital businesses in times to come. तो अगर ये जब जो 10 साल पहले जो बिजनेसेस शुरू हो रहे हैं, जब 10 साल 15 साल 20 साल बाद जब वो सबसे बड़ी कंपनीज हो जाएगी इंडिया की, यू वांट टू बिकम अ पार्ट ऑफ दोज कंपनीज, क्योंकि हमने ये सेम ट्रेंड चाइना में भी देखा और यूएस में भी देखा कि न्यू एज टेक्नोलॉजी फर्स्ट कंपनीज हैव गॉन ऑन टू बिकम सम ऑफ द बिगेस्ट कंपनीज इन देयर मार्केट्स टुडे. तो इंडिया में भी ये होना है. तो हमने उस पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से सोचा कि अगर यही कंपनीज, टेक्नोलॉजी कंपनीज, ओला, पेटीएम, फ्लिपकार्ट, ये सब जाके ही 10 साल में सबसे बड़ी कंपनीज बनने वाली है, तो क्या हम हमारे वेल्थ का थोड़ा सा पोर्शन हटा के उसको न्यू एज टेक्नोलॉजी कंपनीज में इन्वेस्ट कर सकते हैं. तो वो ऑब्जेक्टिव और वो विजन से ये जर्नी शुरू हुआ. And that's how we started investing our own personal wealth in startups. And while we started investing our personal wealth in startups, people from our network, friends, families, associates, they also started showing interest. They are also keen to participate in these new age companies. And that's what led to the birth of Venture Catalyst, which is like a platform basically that we have created. It's a privately run company, which allows investors to invest in new age companies together, right, with everybody. So that was how the genesis of
investors you have onboarded. How many investors you have onboarded till now?
So we have roughly about almost 4,000 investors who have invested with us over the last 8 years. These are 80% from India, 20% from outside of India, NRIs, foreign nationals, etc. So we cater to a wide range of audience. Good thing about startup investing is unlike, मतलब बहुत लोगों को लगता है कि मेरे पास बहुत पैसा होगा तो ही मैं स्टार्टअप्स में लगा सकता हूँ, करोड़ रुपए एक स्टार्टअप में लगाना पड़ता है एंड थिंग्स लाइक दैट. बट वैसा नहीं होता है. प्लेटफॉर्म्स लाइक अस and IPV here and India Accelerator, etc., we all encourage people to invest in startups by making the ticket size very small. तो हम 2-3 लाख रुपए से लोगों को स्टार्टअप्स में इन्वेस्ट करने का एक्सेस और अपॉर्चुनिटी प्रोवाइड करते हैं, which is why we are able to cater to say 4,000 people as of today.
Very nice, very nice. Now I'll come, to the, Ninad. Ninad is, waiting for us. So, Ninad, I wanted to have the same answer, questions to you. I will, ask the same things to the all panelists. Then, we'll have the more question on the risk management, investment strategy, portfolio, everything. So I wanted to have the same questions. Can you just share about your experience, your journey, how you become a angel investor, what is motivation behind to become an angel investor? So over to you. Being a MD to the limited as a education, how it is, gone through your mind to be part of the investing.
Thank you, Dheeraj, for inviting me, and wonderful to have Dr. J. Bala and others on this call. So yeah, I think a short answer is when you said mutual fund sahi hai, for startups it should be ab waqt hai startups investment ka. This is the time.
Why not we
Time
can
has
say
come.
that investment startup sahi hai, investment in the startup bhi sahi hai.
So, I think we are on the cusp of a big revolution in all perspectives. And having spent time in the corporate sector, managed companies, since I have had experience with that, I thought the best way to distill all this knowledge and experience was to help young and not so young founders build their startups. In the last 5 years, since I've been full-time, we have invested in more than 140 startups. We invest very early, the first check, and obviously the risk is high, but the reward can be also exceedingly high. So the motivation fundamentally is to see something from an idea to become to a big, large project. So we've had young students who were just in final year of college who came to pitch to us, and now they're running fairly successful companies. Data Sutram is one company where they are providing locational intelligence. Pocketly is another company. The last year students of VIT who came and pitched to us. As we speak, I was out for a personal work and I came home hungry, so I'm eating one of my startups chips as I speak. Kerala banana chips. Is an MBA student who had come. So I think this kind of satisfaction one gets to see something substantial happening from a very tiny idea. I don't think any other field gives you. From an investor perspective, obviously startup investment requires a different mindset, but the returns can be large. Risk also equally high, but returns can be really large. More importantly, any investor sees his or her investment, an idea growing from something what you call a seed stage to a large company. Today, earlier the journey for a successful startup to become IPO was around 8 years. It's dropped down to 5.5 years now, and I'm sure it will drop down further. So 5.5 years is not a long period of time for a startup. So that's what keeps us going. The adrenaline of taking risk, the joy of seeing it becoming a large company, and subsequently the excitement of seeing a portfolio of companies and investors who are part of this exciting journey.
Wow, great. So how many investors been onboarded in your platform?
So we have 140 startup investment. I don't think we are in the region of 8,000 whatever of VCATs, but we're probably
4,000. They mentioned about 4,000. I want
4,000.
The over here, the panelists are here, represent 70% of the India network.
Yeah. So we should probably be on, we have touched probably 1,000 plus investors. How many have invested is probably less.
Very nice. Great. So
I can continue with my chips of my startup.
And now I'll come over to the Mitesh, sir. So I wanted to have the same questions over to Mitesh.
No, thanks, Dheeraj. First of all, kudos to Ministry and ICAI for promoting such sessions. I think to begin with, it's very important to spread awareness about this asset class. There is a very popular myth saying that this is like playing blackjack. Angel investment is just about, it's only for the rich people. Only if you have made money in life, you can invest into this asset class. And it's, 1 or 0. You can kind of invest in 50 and then just hope that 10% will succeed and others will fail. So I think there is a lot of misconception about startups as an asset class. Either there is too much of euphoria, like we saw the time of 2020 and 21, and then there was this so-called funding winter where media just drives this term, and then everybody will say that it's funding winter and hence not the game for the angels also to invest. A bit of about myself, I think how I started. So, coming from a humble family background, CA by qualification, worked with a textile company for about 12 years. Got fortunate enough to be part of Ola's success journey in 2013. And that was my real brush with internet economy, digital economy. And I think what got me sold on startups or angel investment was the opportunity that India provides as the largest consumption economy, right? I mean, an idea like Ola, which initially faced a lot of issues because there were regulatory hurdles and all. Eventually, if it's serving a genuine need के जहाँ पे लोगों को टैक्सी चाहिए, टैक्सी नहीं मिलती शॉर्ट डिस्टेंस के लिए, conversely टैक्सी ड्राइवर्स को पैसेंजर नहीं मिलते, they just kind of are stranded on one side of the road looking for passengers and all, and this is a service which is kind of connecting both. So that phase from 2013 till 2016, working as CFO with Ola, I managed to raise almost $2 billion from all large VCs across the world. But more than that, I think it was understanding into the digital economy which kind of got excited about angel investment as my passion. So made my first investment way back in 2014. और तब से लेके अब तक came back from Ola, came back to Mumbai, joined BookMyShow as CFO. Another large success, consumer success story. Have seen that also growing almost like a market with monopoly, right? As we all use BookMyShow. So different sort of a learning, different sort of an understanding, and entrepreneurship जो इंडिया में last 10 साल में develop हुई है. I'm really excited about the future also. I think we are still scratching the surface. Dheeraj, आपने question पूछा कि between this panel we are catering to maybe 70% of the angel class. The other
Right.
side is that today the number of angels in India is still so small, right? There are various data, but अगर हम देखें number of startups in India में जो registered with DPIT will be just about 1 lakh.
Right.
Number of angel investor is probably with some data it floats between 12,000 to 50,000. My guess is that will not be more than 35,000. I mean, for a
Yeah, 25,000 is registered with the DPIT. Yeah.
a population of 140 CR, a country with demat accounts now touching almost 10 CR and all, 45,000 angel investment is nothing. And look at
That's why I said that the US has the 7 lakh angel investors. Now India has more appetite to have within a year, within a year or 2 years, at least 1 lakh immediately, and then maybe 10 lakhs.
We are also growing at a furious pace. Just couple of things. Some myths that I want to bust is that it's not only game for the rich. We all kind of work towards a common cause. Us, VCATs, 100x VC. Our idea is that basically larger participation. If you are a professional, if you want to learn about the growth story of India, right? Investment is always secondary. I think India being kind of there to learn and understand the internet economy, and then help in your small way the startups in their growth story. Why is it called angel investor? Angel is basically a synonym for somebody who's helping you in your life, right? So capital is just one aspect of it. आप invest करते हो वो खाली एक aspect है. आप startup को कितनी help करते हो, that's where I think we all come in handy with our angel. As an individual, I'll have my limitation in terms of time, money, capability. But when we invest in group, when we invest as a platform as AIF, there is a lot of value add that we can drive for startup, and that's what we are here for. Pretty excited about the days to come as an angel investor.
Great. Thank you. I think now I move to the next, angel network, which is Deepak. So Deepak, the same question, your journey and how you become an angel investor and what is your motivation behind it?
Sure. Thank you so much. First of all, the entire ICI team and Dheeraj for setting up this specific panel discussion with some of the esteemed industry from the startup specific sector. Also, kudos to Ministry of Education and Dr. Jerry and Bala for starting this great initiative about promoting angel investment and specific sector for pooling into the educations and promoting angel investment into the specific sector. To start with, I'm Deepak Sharma, and I'm really excited to represent India Accelerator here, in this specific session. I'm an engineer by education, passed out from Punjab Engineering College, Chandigarh. Had about 2 decades of technology-specific experience working with MNCs like AT&T, Fidelity Investments, and then Verizon Wireless. And this was this specific churning time when the internet and startups were booming somewhere around 2010. And I was going through this midlife crisis, trying to think through that, what should we do, with our careers, with the rest of 1.5 decades of experience that is left. And that's where jumped onto the entrepreneurial bandwagon, dabbled with few startups. Some of those specific ventures really picked up. Some of those ventures failed miserably. We learned a lot from those specific experiences. We also had to unlearn a lot of our corporate experience and have this rope of starting into the startup specific world afresh. And when we looked at the West in terms of how they are so successful, we learned that in the West, specifically in the US, there is a concept called accelerator. And then we parked ourselves in the US for some time, trying to understand, what an accelerator does, and how does it really promote and aid the startup ecosystem. And that's where we learned that there were two big entities in the US called Y Combinator and Techstars, which essentially provided a lot of mentorship, support, growth, initial seed stage of capital. So we learned a lot about how Y Combinator operates in the US and why is it so successful. And then when we came back to India, we realized that this is essentially a white space. There is not a kind of a Y Combinator that exists in India, and that led us to the mission of setting up India Accelerator. That we essentially had that vision of being the YC of India. Setting up a space where we promote young entrepreneurs and we help them with the seed capital. We provide them with the right competency, connections, with the deep domain expertise, and kicking them off into their specific journey. So that's what we typically do. As part of India Accelerator, we have operate out of 9 co-working hubs, which are set across different parts of India. We have more than 1,800 angel investors which operate out of our platform. We also have 2 AIFs that we have under our portfolio. There is a category 1 and then there is a category 2 funds through which some of our investments are kind of deployed.
Right.
We also very closely work with some educational institutions like IITs, IIMs, NIDs, and some of the engineering and management colleges outside of the tier 1 in terms of promoting entrepreneurship at the grassroots level, promoting entrepreneurship at the at the institute specific level, helping a lot on the incubators and with the train the trainer program, and embedding entrepreneurship really at the at the institute specific level. On the other hand, we also realized, as Dheeraj was pointing it out, that when we look at the US, there are about close to 4.5 lakhs CPAs which operate out of it, and there is an equal number of angel investors which exist in the US, about 4.5-5 lakhs of angel investors. When we look at back in India here, we have approximately the same number of CAs, around 4 lakh, but the number of angel investors, we have 20-25,000 depending upon what the number is. And that's where we also partner very closely with ICAI in terms of promoting startup as an asset class. There is a lot of confusion. There is a lot of fogginess which is there with respect to startup investments and how do we invest. And as some of our esteemed panelists were talking about it, some of the investors feel that there is a huge portion of money that they would have to put it. So there is a lot of fuzziness which is there with respect to startup investments, and that's where we do a lot of these specific sessions with ICAI again, with a lot of different industry bodies in terms of promoting startup as an asset class, uncovering a lot of myths and facts about startup investments.
So I think that's a good point. You have raised that 400,000 members of the ICI is there. That's why the ICI is made the announcement this year. At least 10,000 members should be angel investors. That's the drive, and that's why all of you are here. That we have to make it together. At least 10,000 angel investors to be from the ICI fraternity. So I now move forward to the. We have heard all the network groups. Till now, like Rishabh, to the Nina, to the Mitesh, to the Deepak. Now we have the very special person. He's not part of the group, but he's himself an investor. Previously, he was just a entrepreneur looking for the fund, raised his angel seed fund from the various angel investors. Then he raised the Series A, Series B. Now, he made so money in just a quick, very short span. Young, dynamic, chartered accountant, and under the age of 30. And now he started his investing. So let's hear out his experience. Gaurav Sundaria, please.
Thank you so much, sir. But sadly enough, I'm under 40, not 30. I wish
That's fine. Early 40. It still look like 30.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me here, fellow panelists, ICA and Dheeraj sir. Thank you so much for the invite. Basically, as you summarized, right, I am still technically an entrepreneur, come employee under my acquirer, and it's been a journey, right? The last 9 years ago when we started Karza, and in 7 years, I would say we scaled up very, very rapidly. In terms of if your question is that, let's say, what has been my journey as an angel investor, I would say it has its own ups and downs, right? As one of the panelists had mentioned that the quantum of, let's say, investments in the last 12 to 18 months has significantly declined. And honestly, it is quite surprising purely because we do see a lot of businesses coming. What I don't see is definitely, the ability of the startup entrepreneur who has been able to take a risk to not do a me too. So we are seeing multiple still, micro SaaS or SaaS businesses come up in both the BFSI as well as outside BFSI space, but they are largely in Me Too spaces. They are largely things that, someone or the other has tried to do. So as an angel investor, the things that we typically look at is number one, obviously the founder profile, right? Because even if the idea is so-so, but if the person driving it has both determination as well as capability, you can take a bet on it, right? It's basically about the horse rather than the actual idea sometimes. In terms of the core idea itself, of course, that matters. The kind of market it is addressing, whether it's a depleting market, a rising market, whether it is a large enough market. Let's say you could be a small fish in a large pond, or are you trying to be a big fish in a sea? Irrespective, the assessment that an angel investor needs to do is that, what level can this company and this individual or set of individuals driving it reach at? Now, typically, when we have to even scout for companies to invest in, or let's say, basically being a part of multiple syndicates, right? We get a lot of inward of new companies. Broadly, the things that you need to be watchful about include, obviously, one is what is the valuation ask, right? If it is at a seed stage, it is anyone's guess. I remember one of my own investors, when I had asked him this question that, again, I can't name the entrepreneur, but ex-entrepreneur, started a second company after a successful stint, and he raised a $20 million seed round at $100 million valuation, pre-product, pre-revenue. And I was mind blown, right? Because I had to practically beg to raise literally 7 crores in the first round, and it felt unfair, right? So the person rightfully put that, would you rather put money at a cheaper level for Mr. X, or would you rather give money to a Mukesh Ambani, even if he's starting something brand new, right, at a higher valuation? So, of course, you need to be very wary of the person you're backing at the stage at which you're backing. The second is the expectation of returns. At least one thing that we have learned is that investing in a startup is as good as playing a roulette game in a casino, correct? Your odds of being right could be 1 out of 36. And obviously, the returns need to be proportional, which means that when you're entering in, let's say, $100 million valuation, you have to be happy with a 2x or 3x best case scenario, right? And if not lower. But yeah, so I think from my personal experience and whatever little investments that I've done over the course of just a few years that we've been doing this, I think it's mainly once you get a comfort on the entrepreneur, both from an integrity as well as fire that the person has, as well as the idea and the market in which they are operating or planning to operate in. And assuming that your return expectation is in line with the kind of bet that you're planning, it's a mix of all these three factors. It's very rare that you get all three right in a go, but that's it. Then you have to follow the law of large numbers, right? The more amount of investment opportunities you get, the more amount of deal pipeline that you can get for yourself determines how good of an angel investor you are. One of the big, obstacle or a problem that I've seen happens, and this is more for the viewers, right, is that don't be hungry to invest. कि अरे मेरे एक फ्रेंड ने कहीं पैसा डाला, मैंने सुना उसका 10x हो गया. So you will just in the spirit of fear of missing out or FOMO, right? You might want to write that check in a hurried sense. It's only 2 years later you think, yeah, what an idiot I was, right? So I think that's very, very critical to have patience, not just to wait for your return, but even to wait to put your money in the right company. If your gut, as well as if all these three core matrices are not being fulfilled, it's okay to not. It's okay with a bank interest kind of a return than seeing your money turn to zero. So at least that's been my core learning over the few.
Oh, great. I think now I'll come to the, Ninad, for the investment strategy. How do you typically identify the potential investment opportunities? And thereafter, what the criteria to evaluate the startup before making an investment? These are my two questions. I think you are the best person to answer it.
You want to know all my secrets, huh? Mitesh is listening to it.
Of course, that's why the angel investors, those hearing it out, you can have the same thought of it, and they can apply the same things out of your experience. Yeah.
चलो आज बोल ही देता हूँ. So there are a couple of things. There is partly science and partly art. Firstly, once you have a risk appetite, you have to be ready for it. There are a couple of things we see. Number one is founder, as someone mentioned. Horse versus jockey is what we call. If the jockey has to be really good. So the founder has to be good. Now, good in what sense? These are all very subjective judgments. I might find this person good, you might find not so good. So you have to make a judgment call on the founder. Number two is the market size should be large. For us, we don't like, let's say, you're doing 8-grain bread only for South Bombay. It's good. I'm not saying the business is bad. Startup is not a normal business. A normal entrepreneur is not a startup founder. There's a big difference. It should be scalable. The market should be large. And then the third part which comes is this model the right model to scale the business? So once you accepted that there's a large possible market, is this the right model which the founder is following? And if she or he is not following, what can you as an investor do to help her or him scale the model in a large manner? So these are the three big things. And of course, the last part is how big, not just the big, what is the growth rate of the market? So these are some factors, there's multiple factors put all in one, but these are largely, honestly, the factors we see. In each of these, obviously, there are subjective elements. but broadly, these are the main things you see, and we evaluate each and every startup based on these 4-5 parameters. So
Right.
that's where it is. My secret is out, so all of you can start using it.
That's important part. So now come to the Mitesh, how do you evaluate the risk? How you manage and assess the risk associated with the, early stage investments?
I wish I had the answer. Then all these, loss-making startups that I had invested in, I would have never invested. So part one, obviously the secret recipe of Ninad sir, which he just said, that I've already noted down, and that's one of the lists that one needs to follow. But yeah, I think Dheeraj ji, basically, a founder is always remain the main, part of the coin, right? As we always say that, I think the success of your startup is always decided at the time of investment itself. If you put money on a good founder, see, business model will keep changing. External environment आपके हाथ में नहीं होगा. Nobody could have predicted demonetization happening. Nobody could have seen COVID coming. There are founders who actually made a fortune out of it. And there are founders who lost their way totally, just kind of blaming the external environment, right? So it's all about how a founder kind of is dynamic, right? Him or her, the way they are able to build the team. And they were able to pass their vision to not only investors, but to their employees, to their customers, to their vendors, and everybody concerned. So that is very, very important. Second, we come across a lot of founders who have the gift of the gab. They speak very well. When it comes to execution, it's zero, right? So as angel investor, very, very important for everybody on this call when you start your journey. Do not get impressed by swanky PowerPoint presentations or just, very good oratory skill of the founder. It's important to see beyond that. Execute kitna kar pata hai. Likewise, there are founders who are not so great talkers, but when you spend a little bit more time with them, you realize that I think the kind of business sense that they have or product sense that they have, that is very, very important. All right, and that is something that you're riding on a winner. So very important to kind of assess these things. Finally, the ethics aspect. Very important when you are assessing. Dheeraj ji, जैसे आपने बोला कि risk क्या है? Very important to assess this at the early stage itself. Founder morally how much correct he is. Corporate governance insist करता है. All the more important in today's environment. All of us have seen the cases that have happened in last 1 year. Where a lot of large startups, and this is not only across startup. I think it applies to any businesses. Without corporate governance, I think there is no moat. There is nothing that you can rely on. And this is very, very apparent right from day one when you meet the founder. You should be able to gauge it and assess it in terms of your risk assessment. That how ethically committed the founder is. Ultimately, you're investing in a risky asset class that always remains. But if these are the points that you take care of, founder's own commitment to the business, then I think half of your battle is won.
Right. So I think the good answer. Can you just brief me any investment which could not be able to succeed and not did go as expected? Any kind of any use case?
So we have a sorry, go ahead. Is there somebody meeting?
No, it's fine.
Yeah. So we have a portfolio of close to 180 investment now, and we also have had our share of failure, albeit that's very low. Of this portfolio, we have seen about 12 failures so far. But unanimously, Dheeraj ji, जब हम study करते हैं that what are the reasons for failure over here, 90% of the cases is the wrong choice of founder, right? And failure, second very important thing is that there is nothing like permanency in startup world. So if a founder has been able to raise money for 2 rounds, there is no guarantee that he'll still survive and he'll still succeed. People have ran out of money at Series A, Series B, Series C, Series D at all levels, right? And again, I don't want to say the large names that we all are aware of on this call, but we have seen stories across each level. Now that may be because of poor the way they handle the business or corporate as well. But examples that we have seen are multiple. You have to kind of be aware of the equation between the founding team itself. A lot of good businesses जहाँ पे failure आ जाता है because founding team do not get along well. उनके बीच में ही there is no consensus on certain things, and that kind of takes a toll on the business itself. Second, they run out of cash because they always think that it's very easy to raise the next round. अगर उन्होंने revenue अच्छा कर लिया, या हमारी language में GM भी बोलते हैं, अगर ग्रॉस मर्चेंडाइज वैल्यू अगर ड्राइव कर लिया, even if they are burning money at the bottom line, that doesn't matter. Investors will fund them money. Very, very important to build your business in a fundamentally sustainable way. Investors' money is not your right. Investor money is not a given. You have to earn it, right? And at some point in time, you have to run your business like a normal business where profitability or at least your monetization capability is very important. So these two things are something that is like a Bible for us. We evaluate founding teams on these virtues. And I think thanks to the funding winter, so-called funding winter of last year, founders have also understood this well.
True, very true, very true. I think this is good point. I think from you and as well as from Ninad, everything comes from the founder perspective only as of now. So now come to the Rishabh. I think I just wanted to know that what kind of the specific industries or type of the startup you prefer to invest in as a the venture capitalist or as a your personal investments.
So I think, am I audible clearly?
Yeah, very much audible.
Okay, so I think what typically we look at is the positive unit economics, first of all, because end of the day, if you are burning money from the unit economics perspective, you can't make money for sure. And apart from that, something which is not way too much me too, and infra play. I personally believe that that has played up very well because if you look at the growth, the infra play always grows slower, but then it also has a lower risk overall. So if you look at that, has played off well. But of course, we do more B2B or B2B2C. We don't look at B2C directly. So that sector I can't comment on.
So over to the Rishabh now.
Sure. The very reason why anybody invests in startups is, of course, being a part of new age technologies and new age businesses, right? So as startup investors, we always are on the lookout for breakthrough technologies, new age technologies that are changing the way businesses are being done. For example, over the last, say, 5 years or so, there's so much work that's happening on the EV side. So as all of us angel investors and platforms and funds, we have all taken our bets on the EV space because we feel that that is a sector which will likely grow in the next few years. In the last 2-3 years, then a lot of investments happened on the digital creator economy side of things, because businesses went digital after COVID and individuals started creating their own businesses after COVID, or digitally after COVID and so on. So there was a wave of investing in creator-led businesses or businesses that were supporting or enabling individuals to become business owners and creators. Currently, there's a lot of wave around generative AI, green energy, clean energy, clean tech, and so on, right? So there are always flavors of the seasons. So as investors, you always need to be mindful of what are the global trends that are shaping around the world, and you have to keep your eyes and ears on the lookout for such ideas and opportunities. But at the same time, right, there are some sectors which will never go out of fashion. For example, take fintech, take healthcare, take edutech, take consumer and retail, right? India is such a large opportunity, such a large economy, that businesses will always get built in these sectors. Just that new disruptions and new technologies will replace like legacy old businesses. But businesses will, like fintech kabhi band nahi hona hai, right? Financial services kabhi band nahi hona hai. Tech is just a layer of tech is just a layer on top of financial services, and that's why we call it fintech. Likewise, healthcare delivery kabhi band hona hi nahi hai, right? I think both to grow hi hona hai. Healthcare as an industry will only grow from here, looking at our lifestyles and so on. So there are some industries that are evergreen in nature, and as again startup investors, while we look for new age technologies, disruptive technologies, we also look for incrementally value adding businesses in evergreen sectors like fintech, healthcare, financial services, education, and so on.
Great. I think good point. Now come to the Deepak Sharma. How important is networking in the angel investing community?
So great question, Dheeraj. I think networking is a great asset, specifically if you would want to be an angel investor. Now, when when we look at this private equity specific market, unlike public markets, where the securities get listed and you get to see the prices and all those things. So there is so much of a transparency which is there. So when we look at a private equity specific market, the deals are not listed. You really are not aware of, who the startup founder is, from where do you need to source the deals, and how do you evaluate a specific deal, and so on and so forth. And hence building your network and networking is of prime importance in this specific area. So as an angel investor, if somebody wants to tread this specific path, one is that you would want to participate in some good networks and syndicates, and be part of the pitching sessions, understand what the young startup founders are doing, and their traction, their pitches, and so on and so forth. Participate in a lot of conferences and events and understand how the market dynamics are evolving from there on, in terms of the future industry trends, and how things are happening as part of that. And then additionally, once you do that, there are again platforms which offer, apart from the networks and syndicates where AIFs are there, and then there are different instruments in terms of blind pools, in terms of syndicates where you could participate in that and contribute and then invest in that. So networking plays a prime importance in terms of how do you identify specific startup, how do you find a specific good founder, how do you find a good network syndicate, good venture, and then good AIF. So all of these things would happen only when you are networking, participating in events, in networks and syndicates, learning a lot, keeping your eyes and open ear in terms of the technology trends through those specific events, and then taking forward your journey.
Correct. So now come to the, Gaurav, I think, we have heard, all the panelists of, till now that we need to see the founders, then the background, then the presentation, the skills, then we heard about the networking from him, then we heard the research about the technology and the fintech and other space. Now I wanted to know, being angel investors, where you do find, where the startups are, or do you need any kind of network or angel network groups on network, to find to be an angel investor? How you find out, to wanted to be invest? How you come to know such kind of opportunities?
Basically, there are, I would say, mainly three ways, right? Just like Deepak sir correctly mentioned, you need to obviously be networking within those circles quite actively. So there are, I would say, mainly 2 or 3 ways. One is these industry events, or you're going and meeting individual founders who have had, let's say, successful exits, or who are considered veterans within the community, purely because they become a natural magnet for that next entrepreneur, who then approaches you either from an advice or guidance or even introductions, right? And introductions are again not always limited to investors. It could be within that particular peer group, or let's say, hey, I have an issue with this XYZ bank, or I am trying to figure out how do I cut my Amazon costs. So you can connect them to, let's say, that specific SPOC in a particular bank, or you can connect them to, let's say, the person who leads startup program credits for an Amazon, as an example. But it's also requires a lot of marketing, as something I have learned. What that means is that till the time you're not out there, let's say, as an angel investor, right? Because see, there is a big difference in terms of what my fellow panelists, a few of them already run funds, correct? That's their bread and butter in a way. So they're always actively looking out. We are passively looking out, which means that, let's say, for instance, I'll tell you what I do. I've joined multiple syndicates on AngelList. So whenever a particular fund is raising money for a particular startup, or rather putting money in a particular startup, if let's say they were putting in $100,000, they would themselves be putting in 90,000, and 10,000 would be for the syndicate members. Second way is obviously, the PR element, right? which means that, let's say, writing LinkedIn posts or even reaching out to a couple of entrepreneurs who you can see are, let's say, from a decent pedigree and have written, stealth mode startup, or let's say within a peer group or the startup community groups, right? Whether it be on a WhatsApp or any other forum, you are actively seeing and reading that yes, X is basically writing a query. So, for instance, one of the Indian investments that I had made, the person had just reached out for some KYC APIs. I saw the founder's profile. He used to lead practically the entire fintech vertical for one of the largest e-com players, right? And likha tha stealth mode startup. So I was like, भाई इसमें तो पैसा डालना चाहिए, jockey अच्छा है, correct? So yeah, so just I messaged him that, hey, you know what, I also put in money sporadically. If you're raising a round, please let me know. Incidentally, he was raising a round. I understood after that message what he actually does, and then I wrote the check, right? So it's, you have to be out there looking out, and obviously if you're not doing this actively, passively, you have to just bet on your own luck as well, that yes, the right ones do walk across your door. So yeah,
I think good point. मेरे को अच्छा point अच्छा लगा कि jockey, Ninad used to always say that jockey.
yeah, no, trust me, that's the make or break piece at the end of the day.
That's good. That's good. Now come to the Ninad. What kind of due diligence you follow before deciding the investment to the startup?
So, Dheeraj, we invest very early. First check. We want to be the first institutional check writer. So our diligence is very little. Some cases in the company is not formed. It's just a PowerPoint. So we don't have the extensive diligence which my other friends on this panel will have. We of course do diligence. We find out about the company, the person, and all that. But it is not extensive because it's very, very early. As the company matures, the due diligence process becomes much greater.
Okay, so I think I'll send the question to the Rishabh. Rishabh, can you answer it? How you do the due diligence process, before the investment into the startup.
Sure. So unlike 100x, right, which are actually the first investors in startups when they're actually
I wanted to
investing.
answer in the two way, as the angel network as well as the individual investors.
Sure. So whether you are investing as an angel investor or as an angel network, right, the part of the diligence remains the same. So because we invest in companies where there is little traction, some revenues at least, some track record and some background, it becomes a little more easier than say 100x VC to do a little bit of due diligence, because we have access to the financial statements, audited financial statements in most cases of the previous few years. We do a thorough legal diligence on the promoters and the people who are running the company to ensure the backgrounds are very clear. What we also try and do is ref checks, right? So we try and find out the people who they were working with in their previous roles, or their colleagues or their bosses, etc. And it's a very small ecosystem, right? So you would be able to reach out to most person through a second or a third degree connect on your LinkedIn, right? So it becomes easy to reach out to their past bosses or their past colleagues, etc., to take a reference check about those founders that you are likely to invest into. So that's on the legal financial side of things, and then we do a business due diligence, of course, which is more internal and subjective in nature, where we try and understand the sector, the opportunity in that sector, what the competition is doing in that particular sector, before arriving at a decision whether we want to invest in such companies or not. There are platforms like Traction that are also very helpful when it comes to evaluating competition about a specific company and getting information about the sector that company is operating in, right? So that's how it's a mix of subjective plus verifiable due diligence, which helps us arrive at decisions.
Okay.
Dheeraj, sorry, if I can add up a point in that.
Please.
Yeah.
Please.
In fact, with whatever Mr. Ninarji and Rishabhji said, you asked a very nice question of due diligence. I think this is where exactly this network is going to make a difference, because this network is not going to work with someone of whom they are not aware of, because these startup companies are under the IICs or TBIs or the incubators of the colleges under AICTE. What it means, the startup guys, the startup founders are mentored by the colleges. They are inside the college incubator, and these ideas are coached or mentored by the faculty members. So that's a kind of a primary level of validation. Hey, I'm not working with someone who's not part of any ecosystem. So that's where the AICTE MOE network comes in place, which I wanted to place this point at this point in time.
I think
So Dheeraj and Bala, I have to rush for another meeting. 15 minutes I will try to join. Till that, Bala will cover for me.
Sure.
Yeah, please. So I think very well said, Bala. For the angel investor, definitely he can invest. As suggested by the Gaurav, and there are methods like the 100BX, IBP, India Accelerator, Venture Catalyst. All networks are there, and the new networks coming up. Ministry of Education's on AICTE. So these are the networks are there which provides a platform. I think Bikram is also there. So that's also Barinium. So these are the platforms. So provide validated the startup, and they have the complete validations, and then you can invest. They are showing to pitch to you, and you can invest it. So I think this is one of the way which people can look it out. Investing in the startup. So now I'm coming to the next question, which is I think I'll ask the same question to each and everyone. I think everyone one can have the different answer for the existing in the strategy. So Ninad, how when you invest the money, what is in your mind? When your investment going to be turned into the good return, and how you going to exit from this particular startup? So what is you used to keep in mind, and what is your exit strategy?
So,
Even
so
not
we invest.
for 100BX, I'm talking about the angel investor also. Even I have a same question to ask to all panelists over here.
Sure. So you're not asking for my secrets, but a general strategy, which is good. But I'll give both, not a problem. I'll give both. I think as an angel investor, one has to remember that the returns can be fantastic, but at the same time, the investment is illiquid. So you have to be ready for the long haul. It's not, within a year or two, you're going to get massive returns. You're lucky if you get that. But you have to look at a minimum 7 years horizon, 5 to 7 years is a minimum, upwards of that, to get some decent returns. Until that point, you have to keep holding on it. And if the investment still is good, you can do part disinvestment or maybe hold further. Now, the catch is in between. If the startup goes for a large round, typically the big VCs who come in tell that, okay, let's buy off the angel investors. So they want the cap table to have less number of people crowding. So sometimes you are required to disinvest as an angel investor, and obviously you'll get a decent return, because when some big firm is coming in, they will give you decent returns. So you may not have to hold for that period, but this is roughly how we have to look at. I think you need to invest whatever money, portion of your net worth in startups where your appetite is there for high risk, high return, and little patience, and for illiquid investment. All this comes as a package deal. Don't read the newspaper and say, Mitesh got 100% return, but that's just one of the 200 companies he invested in. So these headline news are just some companies. It's a package deal, but it's an exciting package deal. So yes, to answer the question, you cannot have returns within 2-3 years. 5 to 7
Hmm.
years at the minimum. And sometimes you, of course, have to disinvest because of some other investor coming in. For an angel investor, the global rule is when you're investing small checks, I think it was Rishabh who mentioned that 2 lakhs, 4 lakhs kind of checks they have investors, which is great because you're democratizing investments to a larger group. For that kind of investment,
Said it is,
you have to invest.
yeah, carry on, sorry. No, sorry, carry on.
No, so the general rule is if you want to get a true 100x return, the chances are if you invest in 100 early stage, you might get one unicorn in 100. So you can't just invest in 5 and say I'm going to get one unicorn. Unicorn I'm talking about, not 5x. Unicorn is a great return. So remember, that's the kind of patience you have to keep investing in so many startups to hit a unicorn. If you invest in, let's say, 10, 20 startups, you might get your capital back. And more than that, obviously, then the probability keeps increasing. So that's the general rule. 20 startups you invest, you'll get your capital back. Invest in 100, you might hit a unicorn. So you have to plan accordingly.
Right. So I've come to the, now the Mitesh. I wanted to hear the same question. What is your strategy to come out from the investments?
No, very important. In fact, this is the question that I asked myself at the time of investment itself. See, there are certain businesses which are great businesses. Dhanda acha banega, paisa acha banega, but they might not be VC-able idea, or VC might not be interested in that, right? If I want to take bet on those businesses, then my question to myself will be whether a strategic investor will come and buy them out. क्या कोई corporate VC आके इनको खरीदेगा या कोई strategic player आके इनको buy out करेगा, right? Or the business has the capability to grow such well that I can wait till IPO, right? It's not very often that at the stage which angel investor will come, हम जहाँ पे invest करेंगे, we'll have visibility till IPO. Having said that, I think India has seen some great progress on SME listing as well. So now there are more avenues than the main board IPO also, कि जहाँ पे पहले भी opportunity है कि आप SME पे listing करा सकते हो. So I think things in terms of capitalization in India has improved by leaps and bounds. Right, we are no more dependent only on foreign VCs coming in. India VCs have also kind of created enough space for themselves and founders getting funded. But yeah, exit to determine that way is very, very important. Second, always take a very, very objective call on exit. You do not be positively or negatively biased. I've seen investors who will say that, no, I'll stay till the end. I don't want to take exit in any round in between. जब final round होगा, जब company बिकेगी, that time only I'll take an exit. That's also one extreme approach. You never know when the next round will happen or it will happen or not, right? And there are investors who say that at the first instant itself, I'll take an exit. जब भी next round होगा, I'll take my exit. I don't want to wait at all. So that is also an approach where you will be probably cutting off your return because your next round might happen at 2x. The round after that might happen at 6x. So you have to take call which is purely, on a case-to-case basis. And like Ninad sir said, look at a portfolio approach. There is no portfolio that I've seen ever कि जहाँ पे कोई भी फेलियर नहीं होगा या देर आर नो स्टार्टअप्स के जिसमें खाली कैपिटल रिटर्न मिलेगा. एट द सेम टाइम यू हैव टू बी श्योर दैट देर आर सर्टन स्टार्टअप विच आर गिविंग यू 5x 10x and plus. This will come when you kind of invest in a regular manner, invest in a persistent manner, and that's when your own understanding also as an angel investor. But one thing which I always say is that as an angel investor, my downside is just 1x. What I stand to lose is only the capital that I've invested. My upside can be significantly higher. If I invest well and I apply my mind properly without getting carried away, right? As Gaurav also said, don't get driven by FOMO. Just because Gaurav has created 100x in a certain startup doesn't mean that his next investment will also happen. It is a game of persistence and identifying rapidly.
Good. I think the same question to the Gaurav, because you've been experienced in last, in last 8 or 10 years. Your returns, you have given the good return, high returns to all investors. Now becoming an angel investor, how much return you are looking forward, and what are the strategy you're looking forward exit strategy?
So I think it's sort of already covered in a way, but broadly, as an angel investor, you have to either hope that yes, this is a VC-able business, which means that someday you will get an exit, depending upon how this takes course. The second, of course, is that, and something that I'm seeing quite prominently happen at least right now is more and more startups are looking to do an SME IPO. So that becomes another great route as well. Although it is marred with its own problems, but I think as time progresses and that from a governance standpoint, more trust comes across that board as well. I think that becomes one other great way for a angel investor to exit. But whenever you're putting in money, you actually, and I think everyone here will resonate, there's that as an angel investor, you have to forget about it, right? Because it's a long time after which you actually end up seeing the money, correct? You're very lucky if you end up seeing the money come back to you within the first 3 years. In the normal time frame would be probably 3 years to 7 years, and then for a few more than that as well, right? So few folks want to stay invested even if they're getting an exit opportunity. I remember one of my largest investors, when we were giving them the exit, I thought, like 60x is an awesome number. He just wanted to double down. He's like, जो acquirer है वो भी technically startup ही है, मुझे उसमें share. So I was like, भाई तो आपके पास पैसा कितना है? Like, that okay, yeah, you're not even bothered with this exit, but I think at the heart of it, they are risk takers, and hence you don't think of an exit in that sense, or at least hope for it. Most of the angel investors that I know really don't think that much. But when you're investing that check at its own level, right, at that moment, you need to be sure that yes, this is either a VC-able business or an IPO-able business, or are they building something which could be a niche feature/product that could be acquired by a larger group. So from a strategic investor standpoint, right? So that's at least how I think so.
Well, now over to the Rishabh. I wanted to ask you, what is the final advice you wanted to give to the all participant over here, those are watching this particular webcast, how to become what is the advice to become an angel investors? Final. What they should look forward as investors,
Sure.
or any skills required.
Yes, no, absolutely. So first things first, very important to understand how illiquid, risky, unsecured this asset class is, right? Like somebody said, your newspaper पढ़ के excite होना that okay, I will also make 100x return or 100% IRR on my investment. That's not the way, because that's only the good side of the story. So because ये illiquid है, long term है, unsecured है, सबसे पहला तो this whatever capital of yours that you invest in startups, right? That should be that portion of your capital जो आप invest करके 5 साल भूल जाओ, right? You don't need that capital for the next 5 years of your life. Only then you invest in startups, because before that, seeing the returns on your capital is very rare and unlikely. So minimum of 5 to 7 years of horizon and locking in of your capital, which you don't need. Worst case, that capital can become zero, and that should again not change the way you live your life, right? If it doesn't give, if it gives you sleepless nights, so no point, right? You should be able to accept and digest that risk of that money becoming zero in a worst case scenario, right? कि अगर आपकी मान लो 100 की 100 investments खराब निकली and you lose all your money, right? You shouldn't lose your sleep. That's more important. And second, diversification, right? So while I will improvise on my language. While I did say 2-3 lakhs of minimum ticket size to invest in startups, but that does not mean you invest in one company and 3 lakhs of capital and play it like a roulette, right? When you invest in startups, you need to build a minimum of say 20-30 companies in your portfolio. तो अगर आप minimum 2-3 लाख रुपए लगाओगे, तो भी आपको कम से कम 60-70 lakh rupees allocate करना पड़ेगा to startups to build a portfolio. Otherwise, if you cannot allocate that much of capital over the next 2-3 years of your life to invest in startups, then don't get into it just because किसी ने एक idea दे दिया आपको and you want to invest in one startup, right? Then it's like a lottery ticket, लगा तो लगा, नहीं लगा तो नहीं लगा. But that's not how you should play the game of investing in startups. Treat it like any other asset, portfolio banao, and long-term stay invested.
Good.
Dheeraj,
So now,
this is a great point. I had also mentioned portfolio investment karna chahiye. Look at angel investing as a portfolio. I want to also emphasize.
Right.
any final advice from Ninath from your side? Anything?
This is an opportunity, for all of you to really grab. There's a large consumption story happening. Just look out of the window and you can see it. You go to any engineering college, any graduation college, ask the finalist student, how many of you want to be startup founders? I can guarantee you 80% will raise their hands. 80% people want to be want to join startups. Balance 20% want to work in companies for 2-3 years and then join startups. So the ambition is there is drive is there, and you have the opportunity. If you miss it now, you'll miss it forever. And what's great about it is you put money in, and in a lifetime you can be called an angel. Is there a better opportunity to be called an angel? This is it.
Good. Deepak, any final word from your side to the all participant of this webcast?
So I think all my fellow panelists talked about some great advice. The only thing that I would want to share essentially is there is a definition of angel investor what SEBI has given. So essentially, you need to have a net tangible assets of at least rupees 2 crores, excluding the value of your principal residence. You should have an early stage, investment experience, or you are a serial entrepreneur, or you are a senior management professional with 10 years of experience. So I think that's a broad category which SEBI lists out. So you should see that, are you falling under that specific category? And I think as some of the fellow panelists talked about, what we name it, angel investment is like a patience capital. And as we know that, exit takes a lot of patience, minimum 3 years, 5 years plus, building a portfolio of startup investments, looking at the power law of returns, understanding the J curve, participating in, a lot of events, and thinking about while, on the upside, we understood that, it provides non-linear returns. So there is a, high risk, high return, but the kind of returns that you could expect is, can be non-linear in that sense. Also, angel investments are kind of a active investment. So unlike gold or mutual funds, where those are more like passive investments, where you can also contribute a lot in terms of the growth journey of a startup founder, mentor, help them with their business growth and all. So there is a lot of giving it back to the young founders that you could do. At the same time, we have to be cognizant of the startup risks, which Rishabh alluded to in terms of, illiquidity, the kind of transferability issues which are there, long holding periods, and principal loss. That understanding that even if I lose my entire capital, I should not lose my sleep over it. So if you are good with all of those things, and then I think then you are the right fit, right candidate for being an angel investor.
Excellent. Anything, Mitesh, do you want to have any final advice to the all participants?
Yeah, it's never too late to start being an angel investor. Start immediately. I will again reiterate, for me, more than the investment aspect, I think it's great learning. We as a country are progressing well. We as a profession are progressing well. For all the CAs on this call, we have the necessary mindset and understanding of this. I think come join the journey and you'll see the change in your professional behavior as well. Investment is obviously a great byproduct, and we have been fortunate enough, for speaking on behalf of the people on this call, that we have been part of this for last anywhere between 5 to 10 years and have reaped the rewards of it also. So if you do it again in a persistent manner, start today, next decade is going to be India, and it's going to be of startups. You already see so many things being spoken about startups and kind of opportunities that come. Very, very important to be part of this ecosystem as well.
Great. Gaurav, so any final advice do you have wanted to give to the all participants?
You're on mute.
Saying that it's been already summarized by our fellow panel members, but in the event if you can't be an angel investor, you can then definitely participate in the the early stage VC funds or seed stage funds, right? Because it's not necessary that you have the time or ability to network, you have the time and ability to, let's say, scout or even do due diligence, right? Like a couple of months ago, I remember there was a startup that was raising money for deep space exploration. Now, I have no idea how rockets work, right? So don't put in money which you in things that you don't understand. You have to then obviously rely on the collective expertise of the underlying VCs, etc. That whose full-time job it is. So it's not necessary to be an angel investor in your own personal capacity. If you can, great. But if you can't, then of course rely on experts as well.
So I think it's a well summarized way that for the all participants that most of the panelists have said that this is the right time for being angel investors, and you can allocate your fund, some other part of the fund, to the as a portfolio of the startups. So it's not only investing in the one or two. Let's have the at least in the bucket of the 10 startup. And second thing is that you have to look out the entire due diligence on the promoters and as well as about the new tech disruption what's happening around. And third, of course, it's about the duration. You should not look about 1 or 2 years, at least 6 or 7 years or 10 years. The horizon should be there to be remain stay invested. So these are some of the picks I can say it about. I think very well said by all panelists over here. But the main point is that we as a chartered accountant understood about the balance sheet. We as a chartered accountant, we understood about the management. We as a chartered accountant understood about the commercials. We chartered accountant understood about the vertical also, which vertical is perfect for the investment. So I think it's for us as a chartered accountant, because we are investing in the stock market. So for us, it's important aspects. Don't miss out ourselves into the investing in the startup. So I think a lot of chartered accountant led investment network is there. Like you have seen the 100x, we have seen the IVP, we have seen venture catalyst, or India Accelerator Program, or everyone over here. I think another which is opening up is a Ministry of Education, which is starting at the angel investment look forward. So I think you can also be part of that Ministry of Education network. So these are the various options are there, and the investment is lucrative. Now the mutual funds say here, I think the thing we have to start is the investment in the startup is also sahi hai. तो वो एक important है सभी लोग के लिए. Now I think I'm opening the floor to the discussion with the Ministry of Education. We have the Abhay Jere and as well as the Balasubramaniam. Before that, I'll request my Vice Chairman, Raj Chawla ji, to summarize and have a vote of thanks. Then we'll have the internal discussion with the Ministry of Education. So request all the panelists and participants stay on. So request the Raj Chawla ji to have a propose a vote of thanks to the panelists.
Thank you, Dheeraj bhai. Good evening once again, everyone. We all are thankful to Dr. Abhay Jere, Vice Chairman, All India Council for Technical Education, Mr. B. Balasubramaniam, Deputy Chairman of the Steering Committee of Ministry of Education Investors Network, Founder and CEO of Stanifinity Inc., Funding Partner Turbostat, Mr. Ninad Karpeji, Partner 100x VC, Mr. Mitesh Shah, Co-Founder Inflection Point Ventures, Mr. Gaurav Samadria, Co-Founder and CFO Karza Technology, and Mr. Rishabh Golcha, Founding Member and Director Venture Catalyst, and Mr. Deepak Sharma from India Angel Investors for your kind presence in the webinar on how to become an angel investor. I look forward to your continued participation in the future endeavor of the institute toward the capacity building of the professional. I also thankful for sparing your valuable time and deliberation in this webinar. I am also thankful to all the participants attending this our webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you to all the participants, those who attended. I got the number of queries. I think we'll address to each and everyone. Those I got the query, but now it's time to say bye. But before that, we have I request my technical team to